Recently, I've had an opportunity, but over the past couple of years, I think that one of the things that I wanted to do was just sit down and first ask you this question. I want you to be sincere with me.
Sure.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. It's awkward, but I'm good.
You look good.
Thank you.
You look good.
Thank you.
Yes.
When you've been through as much as I've been through, and you've lived life balls to the wall for as long as I've done it, and then, unimaginable things happen in your life, it kind of changes how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see everything. Have there been moments when I haven't been good? Absolutely. But now, yeah, I'm good.
Absolutely. Yeah. The thing about, when people go through whatever trials or whatever tribulations, there's a lightness, there's a weightlessness, and I see it in you. So thank you for coming here and welcome. One of the things that I want to do also is to sort of start just take everybody back through, just different eras and different times in your life, and starting at the very beginning.
Yeah.
When you came onto the scene, neo soul was just this new innovative concept that was really changing R&B radio. And when I think about when you came on and everybody's like, who is this? Like, who is this voice? Who is this, right? Tell everybody about just, and for those who do not know or who may not be familiar with your music, what it was like coming into an era and time where R&B was shifting into neo soul and it was more funky and it was more gritty, and how you played a part in that.
I was just having this conversation, was it yesterday or earlier today, with one of my former drummers who also happens to be my cousin. I still kept him even after the divorce. He was my cousin-in-law, but he's still family to me, always will be. And we were just talking about what happened to the neo soul era and how it just disappeared. And we were hungry, not thirsty, hungry to be heard. We were making awesome music. It was getting passed over. No one was supporting, and it was just fuck it, if I can say that.
Of course, yeah.
Fuck it.
They want you to say it.
Let's just do us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether they hate it, whether they love it, we're just gonna do us, and that's really what it was at that time. I've had producers throughout the early part of my young life. They were all trying to get you to jump onto a sound or cling on to, the trend. And I would do it, and I would do it well. But there was always a no. We need you to be more like, we need you to be less like, you look too much like. And then I said, if I'm gonna hear no, I'd rather hear no as me. I'd rather you tell me no, not me trying to be what everybody else wants me to be. Tell me no.
Absolutely.
And that was it. I said, fuck it. And I started doing me. And it was so authentic and it was so raw. And I surprised myself most of the time.
You did?
Absolutely. I didn't know what was coming. I just knew that I was surrendering to whatever it was that I was feeling, and I was no longer going to lie to myself and deny myself the opportunity to get this out. And week after week at Black Lily at the Wetlands, where we first started in New York at the corner of Hudson and Lake.
Yeah.
Week after week, my becoming kept evolving, and then I noticed something different that I'd never noticed before in all of the time I was live performing. I was no longer performing for an audience. I was in communication with them. We were exchanging energy.
Absolutely.
I could get on stage and sing Mary, Mary Had a Little Lamb. And these motherfuckers were getting it.
They felt your soul.
That was it.
It was the exchange.
And that began everything that built me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, surrendering to the becoming and choosing not to be what people expected me to be.
Mm.
And I think that scared a lot of people in the industry because they weren't used to artists who wanted to be themselves authentically. Most artists get into the game to become an idea or to become a figurehead or to become, some kind of urban legend. That wasn't it. That wasn't it for me. It was just me.
Mm. So how does that work? As music starts to shift, right? Speaking of that time when neo soul was really relevant and really just deep in changing radio, it started to become something else around 2005 to 2010.
When niggas, started liking checks,
right,
and being included in the big tours and being recognized by all of the pop culture, icons and stuff like that. And then, I've said it in a million interviews. They asked me what happened to neo soul. I said they should have never gave us niggas money.
There are some records that make it that are absolute trash. There are some records that make it that are brilliant that you never even hear about. And that all comes down to what the company's pushing.
So to stay humble is to stay relevant.
Period. Period.
That's how it was done.
Listen to me. When an outdo cat becomes an indo cat.
Right. Right? I get it.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Try to take that cat back outdo. He was outdo before. He ain't like it.
Right.
He got comfortable inside. But when you got to go back out there, who you gonna be? Which cat are you gonna be? And most of these cats, they don't want to go back to being outdoor cats. That's just the way it is. People got comfortable. People wanted, to be seen here, to be invited there, to do this and to do that. And the very things that allow those audiences to connect to us was that we represented them as they were. We didn't celebrate, the whole American dream. Fuck the American dream. We are.
And every time we get on stage or you get on stage or artists who share that vision get on stage, it becomes almost like a representation of that.
We were celebrating the lives they were actually living, not the
Right.
lives that they were told to aspire for,
Right.
but the lives they were actually living. We were making songs about people struggling and finding the beauty in that struggle. We weren't sitting there telling them, you ain't shit unless you have a Maybach and you got a fresh BBL. And no, this is what made neo soul so special. Because they got to listen to these records that sounded like them. Finally, someone is making music for people like us and talking about how our life as we are, the way we are, ain't so bad. And matter of fact, some of it's pretty damn dope.
So how does Jag get into a lane where you are changing that narrative? Because I know that's part of your effort in Dallas, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Can you speak a little bit about how or what your vision is going to be to just create a lane to where women who really want to, or men, or whomever has an artistry or contribution, how you're going to step into that space and change that?
Well, I started out by embracing the community. And then I discovered that the community didn't embrace itself.
That's real.
So that's not the way to go. So then I decided to commune and fellowship within the community to find out the things that were important to them. What's the true identity of the Dallas music scene, especially the urban Dallas music scene? And then I came to find out that really didn't exist either.
Now, you're going to get some pushback for that.
I can. I've been saying it. I got up on stage at the Freeman and I told everybody in the audience, I'm here and I'm me. How do I think you're more dope than you do?
How did they respond?
Oh, somebody asked somebody to take the mic from me and get off the stage, and I was like, I'm sitting here fighting for you niggas. I'm fighting for you, and you won't even fight for yourselves.
Would you akin that to the slaves who don't know they're on the plantation?
Well, see, I have a little saying, you know, my family, of course, came from the South, moved up north, and then I left the North and I moved back down South. And I've identified a slight difference. There's a difference between those who left with Harriet Tubman and those who refused to leave. There's just a difference.
Right.
I love Juneteenth. I love the idea of celebrating, but truthfully, all you're celebrating was your oppression. It was written in the newspapers that you were free, but you couldn't read. So you didn't know. And I see that happening still down here now.
Wow.
All these artists down here are free, but they don't even know it. They have no idea how free they are. They have no idea how amazing they could be because they're busy not reading the signs of what's actually happening right in front of their face. There are people here in this marketplace who want this marketplace to stay just the way it is. They do not want it to change. They do not want the access to other opportunities, to be illuminated, to be seen. And all the rest of these artists sit down here and they play along, waiting for Freedom Day to come.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, it's sitting right here in your face. I've been called Harriet Tubman I don't know how many times over the course of the past year and a half, 2 years. And then somebody told me that I was wasting my time and I was wasting my efforts. And my response was, imagine if after the first time a slave told Harriet Tubman, I don't want to go with you. She said, you know what, fuck it, I'm going back up north, bye.
Well, she killed them.
And just gave up.
Right.
She didn't give up.
So how does that work with, I guess, trying to identify who those artists are? Like, what does that ideal artist look like for you?
If you build it, they will come. I'm no longer looking for a way around. I'm just creating a way. I'm creating a path. And those who want to get on that path are more than welcome to get on that path. But you can't beg people to save their own lives. They have to choose to. But they also have to have an option. Me fighting against the structure of what's happening here only creates more chaos. But me fighting for creating a path, an alternate solution to a very real problem in this marketplace in artistry, that's how I win. That's how I fight.
Does it have a look? Does it have a sound? Does it have an intention other than just creating a platform for the local artist?
Well, you create the platform, you start pulling in the necessary and relevant pieces, and then I think the collage will start to shape itself. I don't think that any kind of musical movement should be structured. It should be found. We should all discover it together. I don't want to be the person who came down here and changed everything and made it. No, I want to be the motherfucker that set it all free.
Do you think that that's going to be something that people would gravitate to? Because that's the one thing about Dallas is it's difficult to have someone come in unless you are a big name or a billionaire and not just really appreciate the grassroots struggle, because there's no tangible success in that, according to the people who buy into that.
Oh, yeah.
So how do artists who are not from here come in, collaborate with you, and make a difference in the local scene? How does that work?
Be where I'm at. Somebody asked me when I first was leaving Philadelphia to move down here, what's in Dallas? And I said, me.
Exactly.
That's what's in Dallas.
Yeah.
And the truth is people down here aren't very brave. They fold. They fold under the pressure of what's been here. They fold under the pressure of what's been running things. They're afraid for anything to change because they only know how to operate in these certain circles. So what happens if that's gone? Don't take it from me. How I'm gonna eat? Well, nigga, I'm over here picking some greens, and we just got a fresh slaughter, and we gonna put some. We gonna build it. You more than welcome to come eat. And ain't nobody charging.
Right.
Just come on. But you got to be there, and you got to be willing to stand in it, even if you're standing alone. You know. But they will come. But you got to show them that
Harriet
be
Tubman.
there.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back a couple of years
Sure.
and just kind of talk about, I want to call it to me, I don't really see it as a tumultuous time period. I don't see it as a dark period. I see it as a period of resilience,
Yeah.
you know. And I want to start with Malik B.
My brother.
Absolutely.
Nobody wrote like Malik. Nobody will ever write like Malik. There will never be another rapper on the face of this earth that can say, I'm gonna be the next Malik B. I mean, you can aspire, but it'll never happen. He was a hip-hop prophet. He was the guardian angel of the street corner ciphers. He was the equalizer. He was the measurer. Now, I'm not going to speak on the roots internally as the guys, because I can't do that. It's not my story to tell. But what I can tell you is this. Those first 3 Roots albums wouldn't have been Roots albums without Malik B.
Brother.
Do you think that, first of all, I know that there was a little bit of a disregard there, just based on your passion, based on your emotion. Where does that stand now? Does he have how is he memorialized now?
I think the efforts that I put in, which I put in significant efforts, I think they translated on certain levels. But I had to step back when I saw what people were trying to do with it. It wasn't about it. Somewhere along the way, it stopped becoming about him, and it started becoming about the celebrity and the viral and the this and the that. And you know, I talked with some of the fellas, and I'm like, let's get together, let's create something. But you know, people weren't really trying to do that. You know, and then there was people who were actually jealous that it was me that said something. Well, it should have been me. Well, you wasn't even around. You moved to Dallas. You did this. You wasn't even there. I'm like, every time I came back to Philly, I saw Malik. I said part of the reason why I was so upset was because the last time I saw him, I had asked him if I could fly him down here so that he could do like a hip hop 101 tutorial with the artists down here. I'm like, I want y'all to see what real hip hop looks like. I want y'all to see a real hip hop prophet from my era. And he was like, yo, Jag, I'm with it. Let's do it. And then I got arrested. And then I had to fight a case. And then that got in the way. And, you know, I was just starting to get things back to a decent operating place for me to be able to do that. And he died before I could. And it killed me. And then I'm talking with old friends from back home, Bahamadia, Kilo. Yeah, that whole thing was just sad. And I got pissed off. Because every time I turned around, a member of the Roots died. Who was this, Jag? You was in the Roots. Who is he? The fuck do you mean, who is he? I had 20 different people asking me, Well, what, was he just a producer? Are you kidding
Wow.
me?
Yeah.
And then I started looking at all the feed of all the people that was around when we was all coming up that benefited. And it was true and it was all clear. If it was not for Malik B, the Roots would have never been considered a hip hop group. The only reason they got deals was because his verses were on them. Tariq was developing underneath Malik, but Malik had the genius. Tariq had a gift, he had an ability.
Mm-hmm.
But Malik was genius. And that's why the Roots were able to make it to a Grammy, to get to where they are today. And Reek did a little press, you know, they put out a little press statement. And I'm like, some bullshit, because Malik ain't have no press agent. The Streets was his press agent. So that means you guys are creating a narrative and controlling the narrative to make it look the way you want it to look, so you don't have to answer for what y'all done to him. Then when an anonymous person reached out to me and brought me my first large poster board, Jaguar Wright, from the first album. It was the album cover, but it had the red font. They told me I had to get rid of the red font because it looked too menacing. So we had to switch it to the font that we switched it to. But that was the first one, the prototype. And Malik B's Heroes Grammy Award from the Philadelphia chapter, they found it in a dumpster. And that was 2 weeks after the funeral.
That was personal.
That was beyond personal.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to get rid of it, get it out of the office, that's perfectly fine. But you could have gave it to his mother at the funeral where y'all showed up for photo ops. Didn't stay for the service because it was too heartbreaking.
Is that what they said?
Yeah, yeah. Every last one of them motherfuckers. They showed up to the funeral for the viewing, took pictures, got the pictures with the press that was all around, and then they left. They didn't even stay for the service, and then you throw his award in the trash. I was livid. Because you can't tell me that there's not malice in that. Did he do drugs? Yeah, so did the rest of them. He might have done a little bit more than anybody else, but Malik was always dancing on the edge of inspiration and creativity, and he was different. You know, sometimes he would go into a nod and then come out of a nod and the most flabbergasting one-liners, line for line for line for line, boom, out of nowhere. And you can vilify that. But if you're going to vilify him for that, then you have to vilify Miles Davis. Because Miles Davis would do the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But nobody runs around trying to sweep his legacy under the rug. I can think of a whole lot of amazing artists. Charlie Parker. You know, different people have different paths. Certain things open up different doorways, but if this is what people are choosing to do, then that's what they're choosing to do. But it doesn't change the quality of the product that they produce coming in or going out of those states, whatever it may be. And they wouldn't acknowledge him. They wouldn't acknowledge him for the foundational brick. Richard Nichols, Leonard Hubbard, and Malik B are the only reason that those niggas sit on the Jimmy Fallon show today. Because Jimmy Fallon wouldn't have been friends with Questlove if Questlove hadn't have made that first Grammy. And it was Malik B that got them to that Grammy while they grew and while they developed and while they got better.
So did they push him aside as they were getting?
No, Malik kind of just fell off because he didn't trust them. He was in it for the music. They were in it for the fame. He was in it. He was music. He was the street. He was everything that makes hip hop hip hop. And they all wished that they possessed that ability. And they worked very hard to get to the point that they did. But after years of watching people being mistreated, careers being sidelined, people being gaslit, people being tossed off, yeah, like they could have at least called us, those of us who were there, they could have at least called us. We didn't even get a fucking phone call. We had to find out online. We lived together. We slept together. We ate together. We were on the road together sometimes over 300 some odd days a year. It just wasn't right.
Do you forgive them?
I'm working on it.
I can't blame you.
I'm working on it. But what would really help that process move along a lot faster is contrition.
What does that look like?
That looks
If you had
like
an
people,
ideal,
that
yeah.
looks like people saying, Jag is right. We should have done better, and we're going to do something in honor of him. Really, have you seen them do anything to honor him?
I haven't.
Do you know
No.
all I wanted? Do you know all I wanted from them niggas? Was for them to do an actual real hip hop 101 without some white boy and some Hollywood weirdo. In honor of him. And spit his verses. And say, this is the brick that we built all of this on. Do that. You have that opportunity. You have that. Did you see anything other than a couple funky ass posts and some corny ass memories that were barely real? And then I watched Common, and I watched Jill, and I watched Erica. All people who knew all of this, they said nothing.
And they were just as tight as a
They
group.
were around.
They were all around.
They were all around.
Yeah.
When Tariq was busy telling Erykah Badu she was whack as shit and her album was going nowhere, it was Malik that told her, don't listen to him, you gonna be fine. She said nothing. Nothing. See, the dirty backpackers, like they used to call us, once they made it into the celebrity game in the celebrity world, they all had to kind of hang together, even though most of them can't even fucking stand each other. They don't work together because they like each other. They work together because they keep each other somewhat relevant so they can keep getting money. Like I said, people want to know what happened to the neo soul. That's what happened to it. Fucking money and greed. And that's why the purity of the music left. If you listen, even all of the albums from all of the artists from that time after like 2006 on, the sound changed.
Yeah.
Even the content changed.
It got cheaper.
It got cheesy.
Yeah.
They tried to find a way to make neo soul commercial when it was never commercial. The reason why it was what it was, you know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah. I get it.
Like when it gets to the point where Music Soul Child becomes a rapper, the hustle.
Right. And how did that end up?
He's doing Music Soul Child gigs again,
Okay.
you know, or every now and then they'll bring Belial around, you know, because of his genius. But do they really support and rep him? Really?
No, Nas's soul sister.
Not really.
Not really.
They pull him out when they need somebody great to enhance the show, like they used to do with me when I made myself available for that. But these are people that do not support one another. These are people who do not believe in each other, and the only ones that get along are the ones who are greedy, selfish motherfuckers who have no